and we would always buy pineapples. So I'll go to the fruit section, and we eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I'll grab a pineapple because I'm buying one anyway, and I put it upside down in the kids' seat in the cart. No one has yet come over to me to say, your pineapple's upside down. If I saw someone else with a pineapple upside down, I would be all over that and go, hey, your pineapple is upside down. But we have yet to.
Welcome back to Open Late Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Spandiari, and this week we are diving back in with Donna and Alex. They are the swinger couple who answered our ad back around the holidays when I said, who has the most exciting or off-the-wall story about how they got into the lifestyle or how they opened their relationship? And I don't know if it was because it was completely unintentional on their part, similar to how Pasha and I had an accidental threesome, but I love their story and I wanted you to meet them. So if you haven't yet checked out last week's episode, part 1, we talk all about how they started hooking up with their very best friends after dinner and movie nights without ever talking about it. And we talk about Desires, that hot adults only clothing optional resort that Pasha and I went to a few months back. So check out that episode. And today we're going to be getting into more, especially how they have navigated this lifestyle for decades without their children ever finding out. Is Florida the most lifestyle-friendly state? What is an upside-down pineapple really? And do all swingers wear their wedding ring on their right hand? And so much more. Let's dive in. Right. I want to ask you, because you brought up, talking about grandkids with, some of your friends and going to big life events and, supporting each other through all of these like major things with families included. Mm-hmm. Do your children know? Do your families know? And the people that you play with, or is it just like we're friends and it stops there?
Yeah, our family, the only one who knows a little bit is my sister. Our kids have no idea. There's no reason.
We think they have no idea.
No, there's no reason for them to know. Our daughter is so straight-laced, she'd freak out. Our son is very open-minded.
And he and his wife are somewhere
on the sexual spectrum.
On the sexual spectrum.
But we don't ask either.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have a few friends, villa friends, who we've opened up to because of the relationships that we've had in the past. And my sister, the second time we went to Desire, she said, "Oh, what's so great about this place?" And I was just telling them people are really nice and relaxing. She goes, "Oh, well, maybe her husband would join us sometime." And I said, "That'd be great. Just to let you know, it's clothing optional." I didn't go into anything else. She goes, "Oh," and that cut the conversation, which I knew it would.
Yeah.
But last year we went 2 times back, and so one of the times, the first time we went back, she said, "So what is this place that you keep going back to?" So I told her.
I gave her the name of the place. They travel a lot, and they always go to someplace different.
Right.
I don't think they've ever been to one place twice.
Right. No, they haven't.
Got it.
Right. So this time I told her, I said, it's a clothing optional resort. And she goes, "What's the name of it?" So I told her. So obviously must have gone on the website, because now she'll just say to me, "Have a good time, behave yourself," or things like that.
Little does she know.
Right. But what's funny is my mother, who is 94, thinks it's wonderful that we keep going back to the same place, that we've made friends. She doesn't ask anymore. She'll just say, "Oh, you're going back there." But the first couple of times we went, I said, "Yeah, we made some friends and we're going to go see them again." And she goes, "Oh, that's so wonderful. Your father and I would take cruises and we'd make friends on the cruise, and then we'd see them. We'd in our travels." And so she thinks it's just wonderful.
She has sometimes
no idea.
Donna doesn't say is that, and one of the reasons we live in Florida is to be close
to her, right?
Geographically.
Right.
And one of the things that Donna didn't say is we suspect something Donna's dad is gone now a few years, but we suspect something about them and their friends just
Oh,
from
so yeah.
comments.
Yeah, I don't know, but my father was very reserved, but my mom is very outgoing, and her one
She's 94 and still wears tight
and sweaters,
sweaters.
right? But her
Okay.
comment, and she's still made, she's still like, there's only three original people in her building, and like, the rest of them
Have died.
have, well, but the new ones have come in, so she has all these friends who are now in their 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But she has told me more than once that she has done everything. I haven't asked her what everything is. I don't want to know. I remember when I graduated college and moved back home, she said, "Oh, I guess your father and I are now going to have to, like wear clothes."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at that point, it was like, "Okay, I don't want to know about this," and I just, like forgot about it. But
Yeah.
she's made little comments when she broke her
She
arm, and
likes to drop hints. Yeah.
yes,
Well,
when
she
she broke
went
her
with a
arm.
bunch of her
We tell the
lady
story
friends,
when she broke her arm. You told her my dad would have to help her in the shower. My dad goes, "Don't mess in."
and
Oh
then
my
she
gosh.
did a trip. There is a museum of sex
Oh, there's
or
a museum of sex or something
in
like that.
Miami Beach, in
Right.
South Beach.
Oh
So
yeah.
she and
Mm-hmm.
her friends did like a trip down there, and her friends were freaking out, and she was going like wooden dildos.
Right. She came back and said, "You have to go to this museum."
Yeah.
So
So she was
so
very
maybe,
open-minded and real. And
yeah,
it sounds like, I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
was just thinking like, is the title of this episode, does swinging run in the family? It's like, but
Right.
I,
But it's
it's interesting that you suspect that because and then when you were talking about your own children and saying how open-minded your son is, and it seems like he and his wife also are, it really, it's silly because I can make the joke, does it run in your family? Like in my family alone, there's so much homosexuality, so much gender fluidity, even in my own, like, my sister dated a girl for 6 years. I mean, now she's getting married to a man, but, it's funny we say it like, oh, it runs in the family, but also it's just that it's human nature and we all tend to be secretive about it. But so many more people than we realize are living this way, practicing whatever it is, whether you're out or not. So imagine how many people we're starting to know are out and realize are. Let's multiply that by 10, and that's everyone, who's still choosing to be private about it for, all the reasons that are necessary. But it is interesting to think about.
and I think there are people out there who are curious or would like to explore, but they just don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Absolutely.
as Alex says, that if a lot of women had been go out with a woman, play with a woman, they would explore a lot different part of themselves that they don't know about, and they probably would like it.
I agree. I feel the same way about men too. I think that we can do with like sort of our same, whatever we'll call it, sameness, just for it being, broad strokes, but like a woman and a woman, we have a lot of this similar nature. We have the same body, for all intents and purposes. And it can be very healing to be with that energy that feels like the home of your own body.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, healing is like the main word that I think about when I think about my relationship with Lauren and how much I learned and how much I was able to like really accept myself on a completely different level, through all of this non-monogamy. I would love to ask because, you guys live in Florida, and I remember when I first got into the lifestyle as well, not knowing like that there were other people, doing this, that there were websites and,
Right.
social, basically like social networks like Lifestyle Lounge and this and that. And I'm still learning every day to the point where my assistant, who's from Florida, she was like, well, we were talking about this interview and she goes, you have to ask him about the upside down pineapple. And I said, what is the upside down pineapple? I had no idea. So she told me, and now I'm so curious. Is this a real thing, or is this a pop
So
culture spun
it's
out
an
of control thing?
Right.
it's an ongoing joke. So
Okay.
we're constantly looking for what we call swingers in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there are quote unquote signs to look for. So one
Okay.
of the signs, and it's not an urban legend, it's really a sign, is a pineapple upside down. So a pineapple upright is like a sign of friendship and hospitality. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been commonly upside down pineapple. So I'll be candid. I go to Costco and we love pineapples
Mm-hmm.
anyway, and we would always buy pineapples. So I'll go to the fruit section, and we eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I'll grab a pineapple because I'm buying one anyway, and I put it upside down in the kids' seat in the cart. No one has yet come over to me to say, your pineapple's upside down. Um, if I saw someone else with a pineapple upside down, I would be all over that and go, hey, your pineapple is upside down. But we have yet to be approached for that.
Okay.
We do carry on our baggage, and I travel for work a lot, and I have on my bag, on my roll-on, an upside down pineapple. We bought pineapple luggage tags that are right side up, right? And I drilled holes in the wrong side and moved the plastic tag so it hangs upside down. And
No one has stopped
no one
us.
has ever said anything yet to us. We're
Right.
still trying because
Right.
we're just determined to be able to say we met a couple in the wild.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
the other thing is wearing black rings. That's
Oh,
a little
really?
bit on your right hand.
Okay.
Because
Black
a lot of people wear black rings as marriage bands.
Mm-hmm.
Our son and son-in-law wear black rings as marriage bands.
Okay.
But on their left finger. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
wearing a traditional marriage band. And but wearing it on your right hand is a sign that you're in the lifestyle, and that's a real sign. So if you go somewhere and see a couple with a black ring on their right hand, there is probably a very high, unless they're European and they wear their marriage band on their right hand, there is a very high likelihood they're in the lifestyle. And
Yeah.
when you
Interesting.
go to Desire, for instance, you will see lots of couples wearing black rings on their right hand, and all those couples play to some extent.
Mm. Got it. That's so funny. I actually wear my wedding band on my right hand, and it's just something that I've always done. I tend not to wear jewelry. So when we first got married, I did wear it on my left hand, and then years later, we just got married with a single band. And years later, when Pasha bought me a diamond ring, like 3 years later, I started wearing it on my left. I didn't like being so unbalanced, so I've been wearing whenever I do actually wear a wedding band, it's on my right hand. And so now I'm like, okay, cool. This is something I was already doing, which I
But
didn't
is
know
it
was a European thing.
But is it a
No, it's
black
not
ring?
black.
Okay.
No.
Right.
But,
Is
little
yeah.
baby steps there. This is
How long have you
so
been
interesting.
married?
I had no idea there were signs. We've been
Right.
married. This summer will be 9 years.
And how long
Yeah.
have you been together?
10. Yeah. We got married on our 1 year of living together, but we pretty much moved in almost right away when we decided to be in a relationship. And before that, we were really good friends, and we were kind of like casually hooking up, and then we would stop, and then we would start and then stop. But it was never really a relationship. It was more of a friendship. And then the moment that we were like, we're going to be together, he just moved in. And then we got married right away.
And
Right.
have you
Yeah.
been non-monogamous the whole time as a couple?
We have, for the most part. Yeah. We started before we were married. with an accidental threesome, I like to
Mhm.
call it, with a really good girlfriend of mine. It was not planned and not discussed beforehand. Little Pasha and I both had started to talk about my attraction to women, but very mildly. And it was more like bedroom talk. It was never an actual conversation. It was like, oh, we're going to dirty talk right now. But that had happened a small handful of times before the actual threesome with my friend. And then it's been an evolution ever since. We've hardly ever closed our relationship or stopped our journey through non-monogamy. And we've really had the most amazing experiences and learnings. And we're getting ready to start a family this year. And we don't really plan on changing our life. I mean, of course, our lives will change by way of we'll have less time. And I'm sure it won't be a priority. But we talk all the time about making sure that we prioritize our marriage and the health of it. And that includes this novelty that we both love. Yeah, so I can see it just
Yeah.
hopefully
Well,
unfolding in the same beautiful way.
right. So we've been married 35 years. And
Mm-hmm.
so we started, I guess, 1 or 2 years into when we were married with this couple.
Yeah,
And
pretty early on as
all
well.
the time with the kids. I mean, when the kids were little, we would go out on a Saturday night. We had an au pair, and we would just
Mm-hmm.
say we're going out for the evening. And then when the kids got older and they went to summer camp or sleepaway camp, that was our time to,
Let loose.
Yeah,
let loose.
But we
yeah.
also had couples over to our home when the kids were younger. Um, well, we had Fran and Mike over
When the kids were home.
when kids were home, and in that house we had a family room in the basement, and we would play down there, and we would have a baby monitor set up, right, so in case we heard the kids stir. But it never interrupted us. Our kids were great sleepers, so we were lucky.
Right,
So
Yeah.
like the
right,
house could have blown up and
right,
they would never,
right.
right.
But it's
That's what I'm
going
hoping for.
right. But going back to a question that you had asked us about people who know, or if our kids know, our kids, especially we relocated to Florida 6.5 years ago. And when I tell she stopped asking, but when I would tell my daughter we were going out to dinner with friends, she goes, "Oh, you have friends? Like, who are they? Like, where'd you meet them?" And I would make up stories. Or a lot of times we just say, Daddy knows them from work, or
Mhm.
depending what they did, I know them from work. That's where we met them.
Yeah,
But I don't. I think one. I don't think they've really met any of them. They just
right.
heard and they don't know their names, but they're just curious, like, who are these new friends of yours?
But a lot of
Mm.
times at night, the kids may FaceTime us
Right,
and they'll say, "Why do you have the camera off?" And we'll say, "Because we're naked."
naked. Right,
Good for you. Boundaries, man.
Or or
right,
they'll or my daughter will say, "Why didn't you answer the phone?" And I'm always tempted to say, "Oh, because we were fucking."
right.
But
We just
but I
right.
don't do that
We
because
just
I
go. We
know
were
she'd be
busy.
terribly embarrassed.
Right,
So we just tell them we were busy.
busy. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't
It's
reach us on our cells, and she'll call the house line. You know.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does sound like the worrier or the
Yes.
one who's a
Yes.
bit more, yeah,
Right.
needs all the information.
Right.
Probably better off that she doesn't have this. Well, I don't know.
Right.
I would actually wonder if, and this is just something I was thinking, if sharing this side of your lives with your kids in some way could bring you closer.
No.
Because yeah, it's something I plan to be very open about, but everyone's different and everyone obviously has their reasons. And I'm hoping that growing up in like a, non-monogamous household is just going to feel normal because that's like what they'll know from when they're a kid. But it's also
Right.
very different to give that information to an adult child. who's like lived a certain way their whole life. Because people ask me, like, should we come out to our, I get questions like that all the time. And it's like, well, I don't know. I'm not, I'm a coach, I'm not a therapist, but
Mhm.
it's so case by case. And I think every kid's different. One
Right,
kid might be fully accepting and be like, oh, I already suspected. But for another, this might be like a bomb in their life goes off
right,
and, they don't know how to handle it because it feels like their reality gets
right,
rocked.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our daughter would definitely freak out by it.
But I think our son and daughter-in-law would say, "Oh, okay,
Yeah, they may
so are we,"
they'll
or
process it for a while, but
"Yeah, I
because
don't even know."
they
So,
have
and we were when they were growing up, and still we were pretty open. We didn't necessarily have talk about sex at the dinner table, but they saw a level of intimacy between the two of us, like,
Mm.
we'll walk down the street and hold hands, or, we'll kiss in front of them, or touch, or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And they know that when they're not around, we wear little or no clothes, or,
Yeah.
things like that. Um, they know we have a very private swimming pool. And there's a clothing optional sign hanging there, and they know that when they're not there, we don't wear bathing suits. And
Yeah.
I think they suspect that some of our friends don't either. So it's
right,
just how we are. We're very casual about this stuff. So
right,
there was no taboos as to what to talk about.
right,
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
right.
Thank you both so much for sharing all of this. It is so great to have representation from every different demographic of people from all
Mhm.
different walks of life. And it is really why I wanted to share your story, because as you open this interview saying, you hear people say, oh, we're too old for that. It's like the ageism that exists in our society and the way that we view even our parents, right? Because we put them on this like parent pedestal box where they're not real people who, whatever,
Right. Oh,
like
parents,
sex. And
right.
yeah.
Parents never have sex. Right. They had it twice,
Right.
me and my sister, that
Yeah.
was it.
That was
Yeah.
before she knew that they did everything.
Everything. Right.
But
Right.
the other thing I'd like to add is, though we've been doing this, I guess, a long time, we don't think about it that way because
Right.
it's just who we are and it's part of the fabric of our life and our relationship. Um, we're always exploring new things. So
Right.
we dated a woman as a throuple kind of relationship for about a year. It wasn't exactly what she was looking for, though we
Or I
had
was looking for.
what?
I wasn't looking for a
Well, you
throuple.
were. I was more into her than you were,
Right.
but it was definitely
I think it was more of a threesome than a throuple because she didn't live with us.
no.
Okay.
She didn't live with us,
Right.
but
Well, I could still, yeah.
Yeah.
she would spend weekends with us, and we would go away with her. And when we went away, we had a larger bed, so she would be in bed with us. But the thing is that we're constantly exploring and willing to try new things, and um, I think our openness hasn't changed. That's the same. But what we're prepared to do together has is always evolving.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
as it should be,
Right.
because as you're growing and changing and having different life experiences, like the things you want change and sometimes go back to what they were. It really is
Right.
a matter of being present to where you are in the situation and honoring that. Because as you just said, like you were more interested in that woman, right, than Donna was at that point. And it is so hard sometimes to find the dynamic where there's chemistry between everyone, which is why I recommend a lot that couples explore dating separately, right? So they can like have all of their needs met and not put so much pressure on trying to date together if that's available and if people have like the safety and security for that. I was
Right.
actually going to ask, do you have most of your experiences together or do you date solo?
Most together.
The only
du-
solo has been me and a woman.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm really
Right.
not that. I'm not really interested in guys. Um, I haven't really met a woman who I'd say, oh, I'd like to spend time with alone. Maybe because we
Mhm.
share so much together, and I know how much Donna enjoys a woman,
Right.
that it's something we tend to do together.
Right.
Though
And
when
the women that I've gone out with, who would be a friend Fran, or
Mhm.
which is
well,
really
there's other,
one
there's
or
a
two,
couple
but
others.
people that they were part of a couple. But like you're
Mhm.
see, for us, I don't think I would ever date without him, just or let him date without me. Um, but it's a dynamic even in quote unquote the vanilla life to find four people who connect,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So it's even harder in the lifestyle. And when we were just told at the beginning, just the two of us at the early stage of our marriage, we dropped a lot of friends because either we liked the husband or we liked the wife, but we couldn't stand the other one.
And these were
Yeah.
vanilla friends.
And there was a vanilla
Yeah.
friends. Um, and then there were a few couples that we played with that we just did not pursue because I didn't like one or he didn't like one,
Mhm.
and
Right.
And
so
Now,
she,
do you have a lot of like friends who are vanilla friends at this stage in your life, or do you feel like a lot of your community are people that you play with?
we have, because we've relocated down here a lot. We've drifted away from some friends. So I think all our friends who are back up north, most of them are vanilla friends. And then the ones down here, some of them one is just now
oh
going to be a
no, we still
snowbird.
have lifestyle friends.
Yeah, but some of them come down here.
Right.
Right. So,
So
but I
Florida
don't
feels
think,
more lifestyle friend heavy.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
hot
And the
weather,
woman
Yeah.
man.
we and the woman we dated is from down here. And the funny thing is that we saw them originally as a couple, and they broke up, and the marriage ended.
Mm.
So
We kept her and got rid of him.
yeah, well, she kept us, and he was, and I think there was some jealousy on his part, but we had like zero interest in him,
Right.
and we weren't interested in having
A
a
real
threesome or
foursome.
thruple relationship with a guy.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So, um,
I
and we're
wanted
still,
to go ahead.
yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I wanted to circle back to the jealousy for a moment because
Mhm.
I wanted to ask earlier, and we were on a different topic, but you said you've both had very minimal jealousy. That's been
Mhm.
a lot of our same experience, Pasha and I. Um, why do you think that is? Have you, were you always that way? Not jealous in previous relationships with other people? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Should I go first?
I don't know. The only time I got jealous was this last time we were at Desire. We were in the hot tub and I turned around and he was with some woman and I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from? He was just kissing her, making out with her. I'm like, whoa,
Well, we were doing more than making out, but the
yeah,
thing is that,
and it threw me for a loop. But otherwise, I
well,
don't
you were
know.
talking to her husband,
I was just talking.
but
How did that play
the
out for you? Was it just because it was a shock and then you regulated, or did it feel like a boundary was crossed because you didn't know her?
Um, I think the initial I felt like a boundary was crossed, but I let him continue and we discussed it
a lot.
a lot afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and as one other podcaster that we listened to said, that's something that I have to deal with, you know, not him. I have to deal with how my feelings, because he did
Mm.
nothing wrong, so I have to deal with my feelings. But
And I think the minimal amount of jealousy is because we're so comfortable and secure with each other
hmm,
that, kind of at the end of the night we go home together, right? And we go home and get into bed together. And I think that we're secure in our relationship, that we're not worried about what the other person does that much.
Mm.
right, or that they're going to leave for somebody else.
Right.
Hmm. Do you find, the term compersion, right? Where you like experience joy and pleasure seeing the other
Hmm.
person. I mean,
Right.
you spoke to this a little bit that you get rather excited seeing it. So do you find that you both have that for each other when you're with other people?
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
very cool.
we wrote a blog about compersion.
Mm-hmm.
One of
And
our
Yeah.
it's
blogs.
not,
One, one of our,
it's, I mean, we both enjoy and get turned on. Well, it's not just turned on. We get real happiness seeing the other one happy.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a couple of couples we don't see very often who live in two very different cities, not anywhere near us, that we get together with from time to time because we get to travel. And I, well, I like the wives in both of those couples. I like them a lot. So does she. But I really like how much she enjoys being with the other guy and how
Mm-hmm.
happy it makes her and kind of that afterglow she has from that evening.
Yeah.
Um, I have my own good feeling about it, but it's kind of twice the fun because I know how happy she is,
Mm-hmm.
um, and how much she's enjoyed it. And we always like to talk about, there's one podcaster who talks about snapshots after something. And we like to talk about snapshots from an evening or from a date, whether it's good or
Mm.
bad.
Yeah. What is the podcast? Who's this podcaster you're talking about? I want to listen.
Um, we got a thing with the Joneses,
Oh, okay.
and they've
I'll have to
been,
check it out.
they're a couple, they're not, they're a little bit younger than us. We've met them a number of times. They're a great couple. Um, they live on the East Coast of the United States, and they've developed their own community. They've
Hmm.
kind of turned it into, they started it just talking about their own adventures or their own entry into the lifestyle, but they've turned it into a lot more at this point. And they have events around the country. They do takeovers at Desire and things like that. And they have a lot of people who really were curious about the lifestyle and learned a lot about it from their podcast and then from their events.
Wow, very cool. Yeah. It's amazing how many different people are and podcasts there are popping up with, this content, sharing
mhm.
this part of our lives, normalizing non-monogamy, right? Multi-amory, we
Right,
were talking about earlier.
right,
And so many more that are really developing small communities that are lifestyle based or polyamory based and
right,
everything across the spectrum. So
right.
again, I'm just really grateful to have you both here and share your story and your perspective and all the history and the learnings that you have practiced in this. It's beautiful to see because of course, being someone, and I don't even consider myself young in this because it's been nearly a decade, but you get a lot of that, oh, this won't last, or this is unhealthy and it's going to end. And it's like, well, even if it does, it doesn't mean it wasn't a success. But here you are, um, multiple decades of practicing this, very happy, clearly very healthy relationship. It's just been a joy to talk to you, and also your
Thank you.
contribution to the space with your blog, Swinging Through the Ages. I'm going to link it in the show notes, of course.
Great.
And
Thank
Okay,
you.
also
thank you.
I'll link the one with your story, which you sent
Right,
me. And then also the
right.
one about compersion, because I remember reading through it and I think it's a great read.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thanks again so
The,
much
the
for
other
your
thing I'd
time.
just like to add is that there are couples who try this, it's not for them
Mm,
for whatever reason. And there are other couples who do it and then just kind of fade out from it for whatever it filled a need for them at a given time. And there are other couples, clearly like you and Pasha or Don and I, who it's just who we are and it's part of our lives. And, people say, oh, well, I could give this up anytime. I wouldn't say that's the case for us. It's just because it's who we are and how it's become part of our relationship and our life. And it's not like we play with people every week or every weekend, or, it sometimes comes in spurts because we live in a place where people visit, will like
Mm-hmm.
to visit. And sometimes we just plan it when we go away and travel.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said. It's very true. I could never go back. I mean, in different seasons of our lives, for sure,
Mhm.
when we want to show up in different ways.
Right.
But Posh and I both agree it's part of our makeup of who we are as people. It's very much part of my identity to be polyamorous. And yeah, I'm just excited for everyone else who's kind of waking up to the fact that it's a part of their lives as well.
Sure.
It's a
Right.
really fun ride.
Right.
Thanks again so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to
Thank
get to know
you.
you
Our
both
pleasure.
more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is a wrap on Donna and Alex, my loves. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did recording it. I really love bringing you personal stories from real people navigating their relationships, no matter what kind of relationship they're in. I think it's so important for us to hear all of these different perspectives. If you liked this episode, please take 60 seconds and go leave this podcast a review. It really helps other people find the show, and it means so much to me. Don't hesitate to pop onto our website, leave your own story, or ask a question if you want for our Q&A episodes. There is also a link if you are interested in going to Desires or Temptations or any of these other adult-only, clothing-optional resorts with play spaces. I have a link. I am collaborating with this company now. So do me a favor and go through my link so that they know Jess from Open Late sent you. And I will see you next week. I cannot believe we are just 2 episodes away from 100. What a crazy milestone. I'm sending you all so much love.